Welcome back to another episode of Rhinestones and Rants, where we pull back the curtain on the glittery, gritty world of competitive dance. My name is Alyssa Better, and I am your host. And today's episode is called No Apologies, Just Dance, Raising a Boy in the Industry. You may know Gavin Morales from Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, Dance Moms, Nickelodeon, or even his appearance on The Ellen Show. But behind every young star is a family member making it happen. And today we are hearing from Gavin's parents, JoAnne and Scott Morales. First, I'll be sitting down with Scott one-on-one to hear his perspective on what it felt like as a dad when his son chose the path of dance, his early doubts, and how he became a full-on dance dad warrior. Then I'll be sitting down with JoAnne about the highs and lows and tough moments, including when Gavin received a terrifying death threat and what she learned along the way. Finally, we'll bring them both together to reflect on what they might have done differently and what advice they have for other families navigating the world of competitive dance. Trust me, this is an episode packed with honesty, emotion, and serious wisdom. So sit back, smash that like button, share the love, subscribe. The Moraleses are in the house, so let's session into it. Welcome to Rhinestones and Rants, where the glitz of the dance world meets the real talk of industry and a dance mom who lived it every day. This podcast isn't just about perfect pirouettes and dazzling costumes. It's about the raw, unfiltered journey of raising dancers, navigating the competitive scene, and balancing the chaos of life beyond the studio. So grab your coffee or wine, adjust that messy bun, and join me and special guests for a little bit of rhinestone-covered realness. Click that like button below, subscribe, and let's get into it. So, oh my God, Scott, you're in the house. I'm so excited to have you here. It's been such a full circle. We know each other. How long would you say we know each other at this point?
Oh my goodness. I think we go back probably at least a decade and a half.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I would 10 to 12 years for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So for everybody listening, just to let everyone know, I met Scott with his two unbelievably talented children at Fierce Dance Studio. And you live currently in Fresno, correct?
That is correct.
Right. And you talk about putting the capital D in dance dad or dance parents. This is definitely Scott and JoAnne, because the sacrifices and the incredible support that you have given both of your children through this journey is beyond. And I'm so excited that you're here so we could really get into the story and really share. Scott is obviously the parent of Mackenzie and Gavin. And today we're really going to focus on, like I said, about what it's like, having a boy in the dance industry, which is really primarily, it's always been, not as much anymore, but it's primarily been a female-dominated, you think dance, you think, girls for the most part.
Correct.
But when I met him, the thing that I think stood out most to me about you was when I asked you about Gavin. I remember having a conversation with you, and I said, so your son, Gavin, he dances. I said, and you lit up like a Christmas tree, pure joy to tell me all about Gavin. And it always sticks out in my mind, like, obviously everybody loves their children and we talk about them with great joy, but the pride that you had behind all of the success and amazingness that he had always stood out to me. So I thought, like, perhaps we can start, with this and just talking about, like, what it was like when, you first got told, like, Gavin wants to dance.
So I will be honest with you. At first, I kind of had a hard time with it. I had kind of my vision with Gavin, right? So I was a baseball player. I was a wrestler, played a little bit of soccer. So I was extremely athletic in those sports. And
lots of male energy.
Right. So I wanted Gavin to follow his footsteps. And we introduced him to, T-ball at the time. And Gavin was a beast. He's so athletic. He was so obviously flexible, all the other good stuff. So yeah, we gave that a run. But at the end of the day, Gavin wanted to dance. And the wife says, Gavin wants to dance. So you know what we did? We put him in dance. And I think it's the best choice we ever made.
And when was it that you realized, and it was an obviously amazing choice because I still to this day watch anybody that hasn't seen Gavin dance, you need to see Gavin dance because he literally, he does things that Gumby probably couldn't even do, the way he twists and turns and does crazy things with his body. And when he was younger, the pirouettes, the turns,
Mhm.
the intricity, like he was so advanced for his years, it was something else. So you made a good choice, obviously, because the kid was meant to dance.
Correct.
But when did you, as a dad, like having that hesitation and knowing very well that, wow, my kid's going to dance? What was that when you said that, even being like a guy's guy, what was your concern? Was your concern that people would make fun of him? Like, what was your hesitation of having him wanting to dance?
I mean, you're absolutely correct, right? So my first instinct is to protect Gavin. And, I know how nasty the world could be, especially, social media was new at the time and it was
Very new.
extremely nasty. So I wanted to protect Gavin. So yeah, I kind of had my guard up until Gavin just started, excelling and he evolved into this amazing young dancer. I mean, very quickly. Within a year, Gavin evolved into this amazing, talented dancer. And I think what helped the most is the way Gavin is geared. Gavin, he'll he doesn't let any of the noise bother him. He just turns away and he'll either change the subject or he'll just move on. So I think that helped a lot. And then obviously watching Gavin excel at dance, he really didn't get any hate. He never got hate at competitions or anything outside of social media.
And I think
he got
that's an
some noise on
important
social
point
media.
too, because I do think, coming up through the dance worlds with Joelle,
Hmm.
and back then there was very few male dancers that really were in this competitive world. I mean, there were, I don't want to take away from, that there weren't male dancers. There were, but it's a lot more plentiful now than it was necessarily then. And was there a specific moment with Gavin where you were like, "Oh, I have so made the right decision here"? Like, do you have a
I
feeling you could
do.
recollect? Like, what was that?
I do. And if you guys have not seen it, you have to watch. So in 2012,
Hmm.
it was Showbiz Nationals. Gavin was in the finals, so they had the top three in each age category do their dance off to decide who was first, second, and third. Again, 2012 Showbiz Nationals, and Gavin performed the face.
Oh,
Um,
I saw it. It was
it was
ridiculous. If you
incredible.
haven't seen it, go to YouTube, Google the face Gavin Morales because you will be in awe, mouth to the floor moment.
Standing ovation. I mean, it was amazing. So at that time, I knew Gavin was meant and geared for dance.
And what would you say, like when, and I love that story so much because you had the hesitation, right?
Hmm.
And we all want to protect our children.
For sure.
I always, like a cocoon, want to just put my arms around and, not let anybody. And with social media, it is hard these days because there is so much hate. Just people wanting to, I mean, like they need to get a life, but
Correct.
people just really wanting to bash and dim people's light. And that's why I always say never let anybody dull your sparkle. I've
Hmm.
told my kids that I think since they were born. I have a pillow with it. I say it on every episode, but it is, you want to protect your children so much. And, I think you really did a great job of it. But to your point, when I would go to competitions and I would see boy dancers, there wasn't a lot of hate. It was more of an appreciation that, you wanted boys to have a platform
Hmm.
on the stage, and they were phenomenal because these boys, they were giving up maybe the soccer or the football to pursue their specific passion. And I applaud all of the parents that did that. You did it on the next level. So what would you say your role was when you were like, I know what my role was as dance mom. I was the Uber driver. I was the Postmate delivery
Yep.
person. I was the cash card. I was, hair, makeup, like whatever. I was the slave. I was the
Hmm.
slave mom
Hmm.
to dance. But what would you say your role was specifically as it pertained to Gavin in this world?
So obviously check all those boxes, right?
Yeah.
So I was all those boxes. And then like I was Gavin's travel buddy. So we traveled the world together. Gavin's been to, numerous countries performing. So obviously I was there. I was there as, to protect him. And, to your point, to cater to him. Yeah, he yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. Gavin is extremely competitive. I don't know if a lot of you know that, but Gavin is over the top competitive, and so his nerves would sometimes get the best of him. So you also have to pay therapists at times, right? Calm him down, get him focused.
And what
Um,
were some of those emotions? Like, I had to do that too. I mean, there were times with Joelle for sure, like she was like fired up because she was nervous about getting on stage and possibly making a mistake, or like the teacher at that point was putting a lot of pressure on them, or there were like those emotions that happen before competition. And every child primarily goes through it. But you talk about Gavin and what hit, like what were some of those things you had to talk him off the ledge on?
So Gavin, he would be so overly nervous, he'd get nauseous
Okay.
at times. And you just try to get him to calm down his nerves, jog, just do some stuff to get his mind at ease, joke with him a little bit to try to loosen him up as much as you could. Again, Gavin was focused, right? And when Gavin was at a dance competition, it was all business. So again, just trying to
Best
calm down.
competitor ever. He had that.
Yes,
When you're a competitor, you have to have like, I call it like the eye of the tiger. Like,
correct.
they go into this metamorphosis. Like I see it in a lot of the kids, specifically the good ones, and it's like, do not talk to them. Do not pass. Like, go. Like, you just stay. You only speak when asked, and you stand there. Like, please let these. And it's a 2.5 minute dance. We're
Correct.
talking about so much work and so much that goes into this 2.5 minute
Hmm.
competition dance, and the driving to get there, the getting ready for the costume, the warm up, and is anything going to go wrong? And I mean, I've seen Gavin before competition, and I've seen that eye of the tiger, and it is fierce. And
It totally is. Yeah.
yeah, so tell me, like, so you said he used to get nauseous before. I mean, I had that too, but like, what were some of the other things? And like, when did you see that he outgrew that? Or did he? Because Joelle still gets nervous before she goes onto
No,
stage.
Gavin, anytime he hits the stage, he's just like you said, eye of the tiger. It's game time, and he's focused. So he's really short. He's really to himself. So again, just try to keep him at ease, try to keep him cool, and just let Gavin kind of just leave him alone. Let Gavin be Gavin. And when he gets off stage, he's extremely upset no matter how he performed, because Gavin is a perfectionist, and if it's not perfect to Gavin, it wasn't a good
Has
performance.
there ever been a performance he walked off and he said he felt it was perfect? Or
To
was
be honest with you, I do not believe so.
right? I
And
believe that
Gavin
actually.
is I mean, he is such a perfectionist. He'll chew holes into everything. Hey, I messed up this part, or I did this, or I did. I'm like, no one knows.
Right.
He
And
goes,
that's the
but I know,
thing.
Dad. So
Right, because he knows, because
yeah,
he's working that routine all of the
correct.
time. And, that is when you are a competitor. I mean, I even go back to thinking about like Cindy Crawford, right? Like, she was
Hmm.
this top supermodel. And I recently heard her in an interview, and she said that she felt like the ugliest person in the world. Like, she didn't understand why she was a top supermodel. I'm like, she thought she was ugly? Like, how could that possibly be? And, now I could actually kind of get it a little bit of why she would say that, or why supermodels may not think like what the rest of the world thinks, because we are our own worst critic. And when you are a competitor like that, and you practice and you know what perfection looks like, because you might have had that moment for a second, and then
Hmm.
when you don't perform it, I get it. But
Correct.
Gavin's mistake is everybody's destiny of life, like goal of life, like to
Correct.
try to like possibly even do what he can do with his whole being. So that's interesting to me. That, I mean, not surprising,
Hmm.
but definitely interesting to me. So when I go and I talk about you being a dance dad, when I
Yeah.
met you at Fierce, when your kids are young
Yeah.
and you're in the studio, it's really important that you stay in the studio with your kid. I mean,
Correct.
that studio had moms like lined up everywhere in the studio to give food, to give the water break, but really to make sure that they were okay. You
Hmm.
weren't leaving your 7-year-old or 8-year-old alone in a studio that you didn't really know with teachers. So we all kind of congregated at this specific studio, and that's the way we got to know each other. But you were the only dance dad there. There was no other dance dad except for you. So obviously you stood out to me because you didn't really see a lot of guys hanging around there. Did you ever have that feeling, because you were in lots of dance studios
Uh-huh.
as Gavin was coming up? At the beginning, was there any of that moment where you were like, oh goodness, what am I going to do with all these women?
Not
Let
really.
me see if he
You
liked
know,
it.
I'm pretty no, I'm pretty social, right?
Right.
So like I have a real big sales background, so I like to, yeah, as you know, I conversed with everybody, right? I was super sweet to everybody. And you know who to stay away from and who not to, who to trust, who not to trust, right? Because the dance world can get a little nasty.
Very.
Very nasty.
Keep your enemies
And
close.
I also had a daughter that danced at the time too. So, you know, I knew kind of, you know, how to play the game, right? But no, it was really it wasn't awkward for me. It wasn't odd. And actually going to like dance competitions, I really enjoyed because you know, when we go against like OCPAA or West Coast, I was known as Gavin's dad. So
You're still known as Gavin's dad.
Gavin's dad, come on, I got a special shot for you, you know, or whatever. And I was like, oh my goodness. So no, it was cool. And obviously that's probably because, you know, Gavin was such a solid performer that, you know, was known as Gavin's dad.
Do you think
So
because he was so phenomenal, and do you think that people came up to befriend you? Because you did say like you have to be careful who you talk to because you knew who the troublemakers were.
yeah, yeah.
Did you ever find that people were coming up to you specifically because he was so good? And what do you think that they were trying to get from you?
Oh, 100%. You know, probably, you know, a lot of 'em possibly advice, right? And I'm totally open to that of, you know, what I would have done different. Um, or, you know, hey, where does Gavin get his training and whatnot? So I was really open and helpful in that regard. And then some wanted to come and actually dance with Gavin, right? So, you know, they want to do duets with him or in trios or whatever,
Because they want to
organized
win.
groups. Right.
'Cause-
Absolutely.
and then how did you
So
pick and choose? Like, or how did you let people down gracefully that not a shot in hell is my kid dancing with your kid?
I pretty much let Gavin decide.
Oh, I like that.
To be honest, I was like, "Hey, Gavin, this is your thing. I mean, who do you feel comfortable with dance with? Who do you want to dance with?"
Loved it.
So he had a few in mind, and he did some projects with them, and you know everything turned out great. So
That's cool.
yeah, I mean,
And I think
every
it is important to say, you know, you weren't just a dance dad. You had a really big job too.
for sure.
And you were in sales and you managed that job in addition to being the capital D of dance dad, um, which people wouldn't. It's funny because I have a real job too, and I'm a full business professional,
Hmm.
like badass business professional during the day. But people who know me in the dance world only know me as a dance mom. They
Correct.
don't know I'm a badass like outside of that. And then people that know me in the business world have no living clue about this insanity that I do in the evenings and the weekends. And I kind of like to keep it that way, but doing a podcast, I think it's going to be hard to keep it that way at this point.
Correct.
But you did, I mean, how did you manage it all? Like you did it
We juggled.
eloquently.
Yeah, we juggled. You know, JoAnne at the time was a partner of a law firm, so she was tied to billable hours. I had a lot of freedom. I was a general manager for, you know, I took the corporate path. So I had a general management role at the time, and so I could work a lot remotely and stuff. So that's what I did. So I'd spend some time in the car, get business done, and then just make sure that the kids got from point A to point B. And it wasn't solely dance, right? So it was the commercial world. It was, you know, this choreographer wants to work with Gavin. You know, he
So you
had
became like a business manager almost
pretty
for him
much,
too.
pretty much. Which, you know, Gavin's always been signed with Block, but you know, they're only gonna do so much. If you want to manage them properly, you manage them yourself,
For
right?
sure.
So yeah, I pushed on my end and did whatever we had, and then obviously I had support of JoAnne. Um, so yeah,
The dynamic duo for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
And were there, if you had to like do any of this again, like if you had to, you got to redo on this, is there anything different maybe earlier on in the path that you would have specifically changed?
So definitely. First off, I mean, when you look at the total picture, there's not much you really want to change. But what I would change is in Gavin's earlier years, I would have focused more on his technique training. Gavin, I mean, he's a technician, right? He's got great technique, not like full on ballet technique because he
Mhm.
didn't want that, but enough foundation to be known as a technical dancer. But I would have focused more on that aspect of it. Probably less competitions. I know competitions are very important for a lot of different reasons, and we still would have done competitions, but I would have scaled it back a little bit and focused more on his technique training. I would have focused more on working with some of the top choreographers in the world at a young age, and this would have just set him up for the career path that he's currently on. And then along the road, we did in his later years, we worked with a bunch of professional ballet dancers that really helped get Gavin to a certain dance level, and I would have probably engaged and worked more with them at a sooner stage.
And then you talk about like these opportunities that, came to Gavin. Did they just come to Gavin? Did you seek them out? How did you get them?
So back to my earlier point with working with these choreographers at a younger age, and again, Gavin, he's been very successful at even working with them at a later age. But it's all about kind of who you know
Hmm.
and who knows you.
And how
So
do you
if you
find them
get
though? Like, how do you, like, granted, there was social media was just coming out.
correct.
He was a crazily insane, beautiful dancer.
Hmm.
He was starting to make a name for himself
Hmm.
big time in the competition world. One hand, you're like, I really wish he would have focused more on the training. Totally get it, because I had that thing as well. But, and maybe you would have changed that. You would have focused more on it. But how did you get him to get these opportunities? Because social media was just coming out.
Correct. We did have quite a few people reach out and want to work with Gavin. So my dad was born in Cuba, so I love my Cuban dancers, right? And there's
Love that.
some amazing Cuban ballet dancers. One, Jorge Barani.
Mm-hmm.
So we hooked Gavin up with Jorge Barani, and he helped Gavin out immensely. Jade Hale Christophe, he connected with Gavin, and he helped Gavin with his technical training.
Amazing.
Same with Joseph Gotti, technical training. And with that contact, Joseph took Gavin to Germany, and they performed together.
And how
So
did they connect? Like, how did he find him?
I believe he made a comment on one of Gavin's posts, and then
Wow.
obviously we responded and said, Joseph, we'd love to have you come out and train with Gavin. This is kind of where Dad steps in, right? So
Working the
we
connections.
absolutely
Sales background, always. Okay.
So we got Mr. Joseph Gotti out here. He worked with Gavin, and next thing you know, he says, "Hey, I want to take Gavin to Dortmund, Germany with me. And I want him to perform. It's a paid gig." I mean, Gavin was young.
And you went.
Absolutely.
And you didn't have any concern about somebody saying, I want to take your kid to Germany.
No, I went with him.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think I stopped traveling with Gavin probably this year. Gavin's
Wow.
20 years old, so he just turned 20. So
Yeah, I mean, Joelle's going to be 19 and I still travel with her. I mean, we don't travel a lot, but I'm still like, oh, you're doing a competition, convention? I'm going. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
same
that's
thing. I mean, is she capable of it? Yes, but I think it's still the mama bear, like,
correct.
protects. So I'm really glad to hear that. And I think everybody that's listening, it's sort of like, if I only knew then what I know now,
Hmm.
it is really important to make sure different times, different worlds. It was different
Correct.
then, but it's even more different now.
Hmm.
You need to still protect your child. Like, you cannot just
Absolutely.
let them go just because some big name is, saying that they want to take your child underneath their wing.
Correct.
And if they don't, then it's a red flag. Was there any time when Gavin was doing this that he was bullied by any way for being a boy dancer? He may have been able to just say he doesn't care and like turn his head to it like he
Hmm.
normally did, but did you find that he had to do that because he was a boy dancer?
So at a very young age, we homeschooled the kids for obvious reasons. We traveled a lot
Yes.
for traveling, for training, for competitions, for um, commercials and TV roles and all this other good stuff. So I believe he didn't get a lot at school because of that, right? Because he was homeschooled. But the only really bullying that I ever saw was on social media. I'd go through some of his messages and just, you have all the
Which is
different.
so hard too when kids are so young. And social media was new then, right?
Correct.
And you're thinking like you're putting out this great piece of work and this unbelievable. I mean, I think Gavin, besides thinking Gumby, those pirouettes, those
Hmm.
spins, the facials that he does, like the whole performance quality, next level. And he's putting out this amazing thing, and yet people still have to be mean, and they still have,
Yeah.
and kudos to him being so young and being able to, I don't care what they say, and just continuing to go on.
Hmm.
But did you ever have to have conversations with him to get him, or that was just part of who he was? And
Yeah, so obviously I would converse with Gavin, and Gavin, Dad, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just let it go. And that was genuine. I mean, Gavin really does not care. Gavin had a goal in mind, and there was no one going to stop Gavin. Gavin wanted to be one of the top dancers in the country,
and he is.
and he
he,
is.
he is. He absolutely is. And then I think I'm gonna, before I bring JoAnne in, what would you say one of the most fulfilling things as being a dad has really on this journey that you could really point to, and like what made you like the most proud dance dad that can possibly be? I mean, like you said, you have two kids that dance,
Hmm.
but you put a lot of hard work into this.
Hmm.
And if you diet and you put a lot of hard work in, you want to see the weight come off, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Having so much sacrifice and so much of, you know, putting into your children. What was the reward for you?
Alyssa, I mean, like I said earlier, Gavin's traveled the country, right? I mean, he's had opportunities that I would even dream of having.
Me
I
too.
mean, numerous times in Mexico at Gala de Danza. He went to Germany a couple times for a couple different projects. He's traveled all over the United States. Um, but I think the most rewarding thing is looking now is Gavin created a career path for him. So Gavin doesn't have to do that corporate grind that his dad did, or go through law school like his mom did. And did we hate our jobs? Probably not hate our jobs, but did we love our jobs? Absolutely not.
It's having that
But
passion.
Gavin he's gonna make a good, strong living off of his passion, off of what he loves to do. And to me, that is so rewarding as a parent, that all those years, all the sacrifices, that was Gavin's college tuition, right? Every time you saw me in the dance studio, that was Gavin's
Maybe
college
even more than
tuition.
college tuition when you think about. I was
Absolutely.
talking to a mom recently, and she said that she spent 1 year chasing the dance awards to have her daughter win.
Yeah.
She spent $100,000 that year
Wow.
in chasing that, which her daughter placed top 10. Did not win dance awards, but placed top 10. But that was $100,000 trophy, because that's how much that. But it is the training. And the other thing, before I do bring JoAnne in, that I want to say is those car rides that you took with Gavin that you touched
Mm-hmm.
on. I remember the car rides I had with Joelle, just going back and forth to the dance studio,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I really, when I think back, I miss that, because I think that there was so much. We had a bond. Like there was this
Correct.
close bond you get when you're
Yes.
taking your kids to dance. I mean, there were some car rides coming back from dance I don't want to remember, because she was in a terrible mood because something bad happened to dance. But I do remember like how special those were. And I think that those moments that you had with Gavin, those will stay with him for the rest of his life. And I'm sure you
100%.
too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those were, I mean, there, like you said, there's some good and some bad car rides, right? But Gavin, he'd stay up, right? He's a trooper. Like Mackenzie, JoAnne were in the car. They're asleep immediately. But Gavin, no, he's a trooper. He stayed up the whole time, and we had some really good conversations, and that's really where, we built our bond as a father and a son, and how, I support him 100% in, what he's doing, and just so proud of him. And yeah, those were
You're giving me
great car
chills. Like
rides.
you are the dance dad. And if you had to say something to other dance dads that are out there, what would that be?
Listen to your children, and if they want to dance, let them dance. Let them do what they want to do, and be there to protect them, but encourage them to not listen to the noise, focus on themselves, on themselves, and again, it could be a very rewarding career path. There's so many different avenues that dance can take you. My daughter, she's taken one career path that, she's going to be making, or she is making, strong six figures.
Amazing.
Gavin's taken the professional dance route, where he's going to be making strong six figures. I mean, you can make a really good living. These kids can make a really good living at what they love to do.
Which is,
So,
I'm so envious of, because to your point, everybody has a job and we all work and I love what I do and you love what you do and your wife loves what she does, but it's like that true passion. Like
For sure.
I'm like 50 something years old, which we won't discuss, but I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm doing a
Yeah.
podcast now and I love this, but you still try, but these kids are so young and they know, they
Yes.
know. And you
They know.
know, when you have that kid, you know that they know. And to see that, because I didn't necessarily have it, but to see that eye of the tiger, to see that talent, to see that hard work pay off, it is the most fulfilling thing.
It really is.
Well, thank you. I'm going to bring JoAnne in and then we'll bring you both back for final thoughts. But I have loved being on this journey with you specifically because I spent, I think, more time with you than I spent with your wife, looking through the window and watching our kids in awe.
Correct,
So,
correct.
it's been the most incredible journey. So I'm so happy to have you here. So
Likewise.
let's get JoAnne in.
All right.
So welcome, JoAnne. I am so excited to have you here. For those of you that don't know JoAnne, she is the wife of Scott and the dance mom of Mackenzie and Gavin, two of the most incredible dancers that I've ever seen. I had the privilege of speaking to Scott earlier. And for those of you that don't know JoAnne, she may be a dance mom, but she is also a judge and a badass judge. And I don't know any judges. So to be able to say that as a parent, you could have this unbelievable career, and a lot of us have to have it because dance, as we know, is extremely expensive.
Yes.
So you have to support it some way, but at the same time, you have to show up and be there for your kids.
Absolutely.
And I think that you have done that beyond. I mean, like when I think about dance parents, you and Scott are like completely up there on my list, like eat, live, breathe,
Yes.
sleep, dance.
Yep.
And what you've done, and we're going to get into that for your children, is so remarkable and unbelievable to watch. I mean, I consider myself a really good supportive dance mom, but you guys have taken it completely to the next level and then some. And I've watched in awe, like, okay, what are they doing and how do I learn? And I've asked questions along the way, and you've been nothing but incredible in sharing that information, which I appreciate. But obviously, I'm doing this podcast because I want to put out there, if I only knew then what I know now. And I think that you and Scott have so much to specifically share. And this episode, I really wanted to focus on being the parents of a son. I mean, I have a daughter. Not a lot of people that have, boys in the industry. We see a lot more now. So when did I was talking to Scott and I said, what was it like when JoAnne came to you and said, Gavin wants to dance? And, he had his own take, but you were
Yes.
the one who saw it first. So talk to me a little bit about what that was and what that was like.
I think I always knew Gavin would be some sort of entertainer. He would entertain family when he was, 3 years old in a diaper on the coffee table, stand up and lip sync songs.
I could see it now.
Rihanna, and his go-to was Carrie Underwood, Before He Cheats. Those were his two favorite artists. But when Mackenzie first started dance, I would have to take Gavin with me because I wasn't a parent who would just drop off and go. Like, I wanted to be there to see what Mackenzie was doing, how she was learning, and maybe pick up some things that I could do at home with her. So I would always be there every night, Monday through Thursday, from 5:30 until about 9 o'clock. I would bring Gavin with me, and he would watch through the big window. And in the lobby of the dance studio, he would just do whatever the teacher was teaching the class. So
he wasn't taking the class.
No.
He was just like looking and seeing his sister do all this stuff and the other kids, and you just saw him off dancing.
Yes, and he would just be in the back in the lobby just doing everything that they were doing. And I knew, okay, this kid really loves dance. And then the studio owner came to me and said, hey, you really need to put him in dance because it's obvious that he loves it and there are no boys in dance. It's very rare to have a boy.
Yeah, back then,
Yes,
really was.
Yes, so that was the start of it.
And amazing that you actually, I think that is really what our job is as parents, is to, I said it on another episode, and I can't believe I'm quoting Brad Pitt twice because I did it on another episode. But, our job as parents is to kind of be a tour guide and take them around and let them try different things and see if there's something that they magnetize to. And then if they do, you hopefully, if you could afford it, you feed that passion.
Exactly.
And, the idea that you were able to see that very early and you were like, okay, we're going to go feed it. And you just went home and you told Scott and you're like, okay, this is what it's going to be. And it took off from there, I'm assuming.
Well, First, Scott made him do t-ball and soccer first, which he excelled at. Gavin is competitive. Gavin is always going to do his best. Even if he doesn't feel well or whatever, he's going to give you a performance. So he was successful at all the sports he tried, but he still wanted to do dance. And so finally, Scott said, okay, dance is what you want to do. Go ahead. You can enroll in dance. So.
Love it. And that is the kind of parents that you are. So I wouldn't expect anything less. So if we move forward, Gavin he did so well that there was Abby's competitive dance thing. What was it called specifically?
Abby's ultimate dance competition.
Okay. So he gets part of so everybody knows dance mom, Abby Lee. And she was doing this dance competition thing. So how did he get involved in it? What did it do for him? How did you say yes to it? Like, what was it all about, and what was the attraction? And more importantly, what did it do for him?
Well, after Gavin's first real solo, which was The Face, which was viral, which pretty much everybody knows
Scott
about
mentions it, and everybody needs to go see that
yes,
if you haven't, because it was that good.
It's beautiful. And that went viral. People were reposting it, celebrities reposting it and commenting on it. So we got a lot of phone calls from different people in the business wanting to, maybe have Gavin go on their show or do this or do that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to put up a little clip of him from The Face on it, so people get to see it and then they can go watch it fully. So, yeah.
Okay. So then I got a call from the producers for Abby's Ultimate Dance competition, and they were going to cast both Mackenzie and Gavin, and they faxed over the contract. I was getting ready to sign it, and there was only one contract, and it was just for Gavin. They didn't want to take Mackenzie, and so I said no. That was one of the occasions where I said, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to leave Mackenzie out. So I always tried to, make sure that both of them were included.
Which is so nice.
Yeah, I tried, but it didn't always work out. So after that, the producers of Dance Moms, when that launched, kept messaging me or calling me asking if Gavin wanted to be on the show. He was supposed to be on the all boys team that Abby did. But I said no again because he had made a commitment to his dance studio and it was the middle of dance season and I didn't want to cause inconvenience for the studio owner because Gavin was center of a lot of dances. So I said no. And then they came back again later on, called me and said, hey, we're doing this team where it's Kathy Candy Apples. If you watch the show,
Candy Apples. Oh my God, that goes way. That's like at the beginning.
Yes.
Of Dance Moms,
Yes.
and Candy Apples was the opposite of Abby Lee. They went against each other, and there was
Yes.
high drama.
Yes.
Yes.
So they called me for that, and I think Gavin was 8. And I said, hey, my daughter dances, I'm going to send you some videos. And they said, okay. They watched the videos, said, bring her to you. So then that's when it all started. We all 3 went to Ohio and started filming.
So beyond dance, okay, so he does dance. Oh, so he did that ultimate competition.
He didn't do that. I turned that down.
You turned that down,
Yeah.
but then you did the Dance Moms.
Yes.
Okay, so what was that like? Because I know that there are a lot of people that have heard stories about what that was like, and some people say Abby was crazy, and some people say she was an incredible mastermind, and some people say stay away. Every interaction I've ever had with Abby, she's been nothing but great. But there's the TV Abby, and then there's the other Abby. Where do you fall in that?
I fall that I cannot stand her, and she's a horrible person. And I could do a whole episode on the things that I saw, the things that she did while we weren't filming, because everybody said, oh, she did it for the cameras. No, she was a horrible person behind the cameras. I can tell you the very first time she saw Gavin do a solo for taping, she came into the dressing room and she said, who's the mother of that son, of that boy? And I said, that's my son. And she said, well, I just want you to know he's incredible, but I can make him the best dancer in the world if you bring him to me. And then she walked out. And a lot of the behind the scenes back at that time, the moms on Candy Apples were trying to get their kids onto Abby's team because they saw her as, this
Powerhouse.
guru that could make their kid famous. So they were all dying to get on her team. And I never called her. I never approached her to get Gavin on her team. And then after that, when I didn't reach out to her, we got on her bad side. And she never really went after Gavin. She always went after Mackenzie. So that's a whole separate story. But being on Candy Apples was a great experience. It was hard. We traveled. I mean, sometimes, 24 hours to get to Ohio because of all the connections and everything else. And then we had to go straight into filming. And so it was really hard. The kids loved it. And the reason why I did it was I wanted them to have that special experience, not to get famous, not, for anything more than they could tell their kids, hey, when I was 8 years old, I was on this TV show and here it is on YouTube. Let's watch, something
Which
like
is
that.
probably different than a lot of other parents, right? Like a lot of other parents, and they're very honest about it. Like they want their kids, they're investing all this money and they want their kids to become famous. I
Yes.
believe that when you have passion and you're really good at something, if that's what it will find you.
Yes.
Like the way this found
Yes.
your kids, like it'll find you. So for you to say, out loud, it really wasn't about them being famous. It was about the memory.
Yep.
I definitely think puts a different twist on how you raised your children, which
Yes.
I find really admirable. I'm not judging either way because I
Right,
don't
right,
think I don't judge somebody that wants to make their kid famous.
Right.
If you're going to go that route and you achieve that fame, phenomenal.
Right.
But I do think that that's what make Mackenzie and Gavin who they are, because I never saw them as being pressured. I saw them as kind of leading the path for you and Scott to, okay, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to figure it out. Which brings me to my next question. You sent, and I think he was 10 or 11 years old. You sent him, was it to Miami for
Yes.
ballet training? Was it-
Orlando,
Or
maybe?
was it Orlando? Where
Yeah,
you sent him like
Orlando.
somewhere like Florida, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I remember I'm like, where is he? Oh, he's in Florida. Like he's in Florida. I'm like,
Yep.
doing what? He's training. Well, without you guys, like this was a
Oh,
big
yeah.
thing because both of you were lockstep every single step of the way. And now he's like in a different state
Yeah.
at 10, 11 years old, and he is
Yes.
training. So please tell me about that because you were way more brave than I would have ever been.
He actually got a full scholarship for a summer program at Orlando Ballet. That was as a result of YAGP, which he did the ballet competition, and he got that
Which
scholarship.
YAGP, for those of you that you may not follow that track, it's Youth American
Grand Prix.
And it is like you are the ballet of ballet. I mean, they see you as somebody who's going to be part of a company. They see the talent very young. They see the way your muscles are developing, and it's a thing. So
Yes.
we never did the thing because ballet wasn't our thing. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a whole different atmosphere than your competitive dance. But again, wanting to expose them to everything, we, did YAGP a few years. So he won that scholarship. He had to go to Orlando. He was 11. He was the youngest kid there. He stayed in the dorms, and he was by himself, but they did have like I forget what it's called, a dorm master
Yeah,
person
yeah.
on the floor. And he would call me every morning. It would be about 2:00, 3:00, our time, California, crying, telling me he wanted to come home. And all I could do was tell him, hey, it's only a few weeks. You're going to be home soon. I can't drive there and pick you up. You're just going to have to tough it out. And then by the end, when they started doing all their special outings, like going to Universal Studios and Disney World and the beach, by then he loved it. So it was just the first few weeks that it took, time for him to get used to it, but he loved it. And again, it's another experience that not many kids
Kids at
get.
10 or
And he
11.
can-
I mean, I couldn't even
Yeah.
imagine somebody saying, send your kids to me for training. And I mean, you see it with gymnasts, right?
Right.
Gymnasts go off and they go training with, a very young age. But I think it was very admirable that you both allowed him to do that. And then so we're fast forwarding, then there was Nickelodeon opportunities. Then he got an appearance on Ellen's. A lot of you might have seen him on Ellen, little
Yes,
Gavin. And
yep.
there he is like with Ellen on stage. What were some of those pinch me moments like for you?
It was amazing to see their hard work, their dedication, pay off for them. I was always happy to be in the audience, to be in the background, to be the one screaming and shouting and
And you
praising
did.
them, and to let them have the light and the stage, because again, those are experiences that he can tell his kids or his partner or whoever when he's older, and things that he can look back on. So they all worked together.
Do you think he got some of these opportunities because he was male? I mean, you had a daughter too, and a lot of opportunities seem to come to him. Do you think it was because it was more rare to have a male in the industry than it was to have a female?
I don't think that I think that Gavin got the opportunities because Gavin is Gavin. Gavin is charismatic. Gavin is good looking. Gavin is funny. Gavin has personality. Gavin's the type of person you just love to be around.
Yeah,
Um,
he's definitely an anomaly. Like he walks his own path. He always
yes.
has,
Yep.
and I love that so much about him. Um, so now going down more of a darker side, you had a thing, a big thing.
Yeah.
There was a death threat made against Gavin. FBI
Yes.
was involved.
Yeah.
Kind of tell me about that because I can't even fathom that as a parent.
Yeah, it was crazy. I had 2 FBI agents and 3 local detectives show up at my work to tell me that there was a convicted murderer in Delaware who apparently had masterminded a plot to kidnap Gavin for ransom, and he admitted this to the authorities. And he was also the individual who had plotted to kidnap and castrate Justin Bieber. So if you were to Google that, you would see his name and who he is. But it's the same person. He just became fixated with Gavin and was planning to have somebody, an associate, kidnap him. So that was very scary.
I can't even. And
Yeah.
like, how did you handle that with Gavin? I mean, obviously you needed to tell him because
Oh
you
yeah.
needed to be vigilant and, make sure he was okay and extra security or whatever the case may be. How did Gavin handle it? Did he even understand it? And then if he did understand it, like, I would tell God forbid, I'd have to tell something like that to JoAnne. She'd be scared of her own
Right.
shadow. Like,
Oh,
how did he, that's a
yeah.
lot for kids.
Absolutely. I had called Scott and I said, Gavin's at Ballet. Go pick him up right now. I can't tell you, but just go pick him up. So Scott picked him up, went home. We told him, this is what happened. We had to warn him about social media. Be careful what you post. You cannot post where you are at. If for instance, if you were at Disneyland, you can't post from there. You have to wait till you go home or at a different location and post your videos of Disneyland. Have your location off. We installed like top of the line security system, and Gavin would not leave our side for months after that. Even in the house, he wouldn't go upstairs by himself, wouldn't go to the bathroom by himself. We had to go and wait outside the door in our own house because he was so afraid that somebody was going to break in and try to kidnap him. So
And I'm just so happy like it all worked out. And thank God for the
yes,
FBI and giving you heads up. But that's scary. And,
hmm
people don't realize, when you become more and more visible
yes,
in anything, whether you're a singer, whether you're a major pop star, dancer,
hmm
when you have a lot of visibility, you open yourself up to
yes,
sometimes the crazies.
yep,
And it's great to know that, somebody was on top of it and
hmm
let you know. But
absolutely,
more of a reason how you have to really be on top of your children.
yep.
So before we bring Scott back, what would be your advice to other moms out there that have a son that may show an interest in dance or having a son in the dance world? What would be, going back and looking at it, advice you would want to give to those parents?
I think the main thing is to support them and their dream and their desires. Support them in any way you can. Also talk to them about, society doesn't necessarily support, some males in dance, and especially in today's climate, just be open and listen to your son and support them any way you can, and also to step back if your son likes dance but not necessarily good at it or not necessarily dedicated to it, don't push them beyond what they want to do. I think that's a fine line. I never had to worry about that with Gavin
No,
because
neither one of your children, actually.
he, slept, breathed, ate, danced. I mean, he still does.
You
So
have this incredible little dance room. I remember seeing the videos
yes,
in your house with, if I tell you, upteen trophies, like you've never, they own the lock on trophies and medals and and every single dance apparatus you can imagine. And I
yep,
do
yep, yep,
remember, I think we've spoken about it before, where he'd go be 8 hours of dance and then go home and he'd start stretching again
yep,
to like get that extra flexibility,
yes,
which is,
yeah,
that doesn't just happen. That's determination. That's hard
exactly.
work. That's pretty impressive.
And yeah, any way you can support them and ask questions of their dance teachers, or if you go to a parent question answer session at a convention. Ask the questions that you may have, and they're willing to share the information, the knowledge, the things that can help your son, do better and excel. So just support them, ask the questions, and try to do whatever you can to help them achieve. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I think that's great advice. All right, well, we're going to bring Scott back in, so thank you, and let's bring Scott back in. So excited that you're both in front of me now, and we don't even have our kids with us, and we're just getting together, that's a rarity in itself, right?
Yeah.
Not in a dance competition. We aren't like looking through a window watching our kids with pure joy. But you, and I keep saying it, both of you have sacrificed so much for your kids, and most dance parents, they sacrifice. It's depending what level and how much their kids love it. But you guys live in Fresno. A lot of the opportunities were in Los Angeles and around the world. You traveled the globe with Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about the sacrifices, because we do know that dance is expensive, right? We know that you both had big jobs. We know that there was a lot of demands for training and conventions and competitions and rehearsals and a lot of juggling that you both had to do. So let's talk about that specifically around the financial, because I think a lot of people want to understand, to become that level of a dancer, that doesn't just happen. There is natural talent, but there is an investment that you make into your kids. So what did that sacrifice look like? Because I know my beautiful beach vacations were spent in Las Vegas at Nationals. So with no beach.
Exactly. A lot of time, a lot of money. I mean, it's your life, and especially if you have only 2 kids and both of them are in it, equally talented, equally driven, equally passionate about it. You double that, and it's double your time, double your money.
Exactly. No, and JoAnne and I were really good at divide and conquer, right? So at the time, JoAnne had a billable hour requirement, right? She was a partner of a law firm, so she was that side of it. While me, I had a little remote position, we'll say. So I did a lot of the traveling at times, but come competitions, weekends. Anytime, she took a trip to Germany, I took a trip to Germany with Gavin. So we just kind of just divide and conquer, and it was that was our life.
And that's sort of my husband and I. So I have a son and I have a daughter, and my son didn't do dance. He was competitive, but he did competitive water polo, and there was a time that he was doing soccer, and same thing, we divided and conquered. The difference was because he was in a completely different sport, it was sort of like I didn't see my husband a lot because I was away with JoAnne. I was doing the whole dance thing, unlike you. Yes, he was a dance dad, and he can talk about pirouettes. Like when he's watching some of these episodes, he's like, wow, I really understand this because, just being around it for so long. But, you both had kids in the same lane. And with girls, you need leotards and you need crop tops and you need different bottoms, and there's shorts and there's leggings and there's Lulu and there's all these different, so expensive. Like just the dress, forget about the training, the dress, that's a thing. And then, with boys, not so much. They're kind of like shirtless with pajama pants.
There's not a lot out there. I mean, if somebody wants to, make some money and get into a field that is underserved, it is boys, males, dancewear, costumes, all of that, something focusing on the boys. Because, I mean, even sometimes the dressing room was a men's bathroom
and that was some of the differences. Like when I was talking to Scott, when I was talking to you before, we were talking about specifically when Gavin was younger. I think that it's different now. Now you go to competitions and they actually have boy dressing rooms. But I think that when we were coming up, Gavin was dressing in the men's room, right? There was no special boys dressing room,
right? And if there was an occasion where the girls from our studio had their own dressing room, they would have Gavin in there with them dressing. They didn't care. They would bring him in. So he never really felt like an outsider in his studio. But with competitions, yes, sometimes, because he was maybe sometimes the only boy, so there was no dressing room for him.
So everybody has out conversations with their kids about what they want to be when they grow up. Do you remember, like, at different ages asking Gavin what he wanted to do and what that meant? Like, I told my son when the second he was born, he was going to be a plastic surgeon because I'm like, you ruined my boobs, you're going to fix my boobs. Like I told him that, and then there he was like preschool, and they go up on the stage and they say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "Oh, get the camera ready. This is the big moment. He's going to say plastic surgeon. This is what I've told him even when he was in my belly." And he gets on stage and he goes, "I want to be a soccer player." And I was like, "Oh, he just killed me. Like my boobs, they just went away." And but I did have check-ins with my kids a lot about like, what do you want to be? And like, did he always say dance? Did he have a specific thing in dance of what he wanted to be? Like, what did that look like?
I think he's always, well, early on, it was always he wanted to be like a dancer on somebody's tour. So it was always like Britney Spears. He wanted to dance with Britney Spears or Lady Gaga. And then as he got older, because there's not a lot of information out there, he was confused. He didn't know, do I go to a company? If so, what kind of company? He was confused. And now he is back to, I just want to perform. I want to be a backup dancer. I want to do videos. So he's doing what he loves.
I love that. And were there any, like, a lot of really good mentors or teachers along the way that you think really influenced him or really like kind of got him to that next level? Because I think everybody in dance sometimes has burnout or, you know, don't want to go to dance, even though we eat, live, and breathe dance. But there are those times where, you know, maybe it gets mundane. I don't know if it happened for Gavin or not, but were there any mentors that you can think of or teachers that influenced him so much?
I do. So I think on his technical training, I would say Jorge Barani, Joseph Gotti, Jade Hale Christophe on the technical side. Those are, you know, professional ballet dancers there. And then I think more on the commercial type, what he's doing now and kind of paving his path. I would say Renee Baldwin.
Big.
I would say Teddy Florence.
I would
say Brian Friedman. They have just taken Gavin to a whole other level.
And these are names for people that are listening. These are names in the dance world. Like, they're legends. I mean, a Brian Friedman, Teddy Florence, like, these are people, they've been doing it a long time, and that does not just happen. And they dance. Like, they dance, like, they can outdance 20-year-olds, like 15-year-olds.
Brian was just with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, he just did her video.
I mean, Brian, next level. I mean, JoAnne still has anxiety just getting called out in his class because you don't want to make a mistake when Brian calls you out, right? So those are very strong influences. And I think it does make a difference of who you surround your child with coming up. So I do think, you know, if we look back and if I only knew then what I know now, I would have made sure a lot more of those influences, as much as I could, got around her. So she does. I mean, there are a lot of really good influences, but you can tell for the parents that are watching, the people that have been doing this a long time, they're wise. They have a lot of wisdom, and they also have moments of, you know, I did that then, I don't think I would do that now.
Right.
So
exactly. And I think that's important too, going back to not just dropping your kid off at dance and doing your errands or going with your girlfriends. Like, watch which teacher is he or she taking, you know, an interest in. Which one do they feel comfortable with? And then you ask that teacher, you know, what do you see, or what should we do, or how would you improve this? Or, I mean, and that's where it starts. It starts with you having a vested interest from the very beginning if your child is serious about it.
Looking back now, is there anything, and I asked Scott this question, is there anything that you would you have changed anything about this whole journey with your kids? Like, looking back at it?
I think so. I think early on I was because my moral code is if you make a commitment to something, you follow through, even if something better comes up, or, you know. So that's kind of what I was doing in the beginning with them, as far as they were dancing full time at a studio and on competition. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into competing as a studio, starting, you know, in July to compete in January, February, whatever. So early on, I turned down a lot of opportunities for them because of that commitment to the studio. But now I know that I should have put them first, maybe, on a few of those opportunities, and maybe have said yes. But
live and you learn.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You did, and you mean, you guys have done way more than the given. Having a daughter and son in this industry, what were the major differences that you noticed? Who stumped you?
Yeah, I think just hurdle-wise for parents were when they were competing in the same category.
Gosh, that was horrible.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Two extremely competitive dancers,
Yes.
extremely competitive dancers. I mean, you know what Mackenzie's like and how she draws you in with hers.
Yes.
And Gavin's just like, wow.
Yes.
So we would leave competitions happy for one, sad for another. I mean, it was.
Yeah, well, he's pure energy, pure, just, and she's pure artistry.
Beauty.
Yes,
Beauty.
artistry.
She hits the stage and all
chills,
the
and
chills,
you feel it in your heart.
tears coming down my eyes. She's dancing with
Exactly.
and he, I'm a mouth to the floor, like I said, Gumby.
Yeah.
I mean, who moves their body like that ever? Like he is,
Yeah, so we've had instances where they competed and Mackenzie won and Gavin did. It was the first time he was in her age category. I think it was junior, and she beat him. And after the competition, after the medal ceremony, he took off running. Through the venue. I couldn't find him. He was just so pissed off. He took off running, and we couldn't find him for a while, but ultimately found him. But that was always the hard thing, lifting up one and comforting the other, and not trying to take away the victory and not trying to rub it in this one's face. It was very hard.
Oh, I can't even. I mean, I have a friend who has both sons play. One plays for Yale, one plays for Harvard, and they both play basketball. So when she goes and watches Harvard play against Yale, she has a sweatshirt. And the front of the sweatshirt says Harvard, and the back of the sweatshirt says Yale, and the number of the kids are on each side. So depending who's has the ball, she turns around and they photograph her. But it is difficult when you have two kids, and specifically when they're in the same category like that. I mean, for people listening, when you compete, there's different categories, and when you're advanced and you're good, and it's the same pretty much age group, because there's like a 3-year window where if your kids are within that 3-year range, they're in the same category. So that I didn't even think about that, but that I didn't have to ever deal with that, thankfully.
Problems.
Well, it is, and it also, I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I think it does teach them about uplifting each other, and hopefully that's what came out on the other side of it. I could definitely see the sibling normal rivalry, and then there's this is family. You celebrate the wins and you console the losses, and that's what you do. Final thoughts.
I think that I wouldn't change the choice of putting them in dance. It's taught them so much, and all along it's been my philosophy for them to work hard at something that they love so they can make a living at what they love. There's nothing worse than being 50 years old and being at some job you hate and realizing, oh my gosh, my life is behind me and this is what I chose to do. They're doing what they love. Every sacrifice, everything that we've done has hopefully set them up for a lifetime of doing what they love.
A lifetime of passion. Scott,
Yes.
any final words?
No, control your own destiny, right? That's kind of been our little family thing because, again, back to, I went the corporate world. JoAnne went the law path, lawyer, judge. Again, we don't love our jobs. We liked our jobs. They were a necessity to provide dance.
And then some.
Yeah.
But to see both of our kids thrive at dance and control their own destiny, making great livings at what they love to do, we couldn't be more proud.
Yeah. So what's next for Gavin?
Gavin is going to Taipei in June for a month. And he just shot the Dochi video Anxiety, and then he also did FKA Twigs, Childlike Things. So Gavin is excited about what's to come,
and he's continuing with Brian,
and he's doing Radix.
He's doing Radix. So if you for those who are listening, if you go to Radix and you take a Brian Friedman class, he is the one who's showing all of Brian's choreography and taking that to the next level. So
he's enjoying life. He just needs to get his driver's license now.
I can't believe he doesn't have his driver's license. But if you saw him dance, he kind of drives in the air with his dance skills.
There you
go.
Go.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for both of you for
Thank you.
coming on and being my guest and being such great people that I have admired through this journey. And I, as a dance mom, you want to put people around you that know what they're doing. And, we didn't live close and we don't talk on the phone ever, except when I call you up and say you want to come do this crazy podcast with me. But it is so nice to know that I have people in the dance world that if I did need something, I kind of knew you were always there, and you were always so gracious and answering any questions that I had, and always applauding my child along with your own child. And I think that, it takes a village to raise children in this dance industry. So thank you for being part of my village. And I hope everybody that, is listening, I hope you got something out of this. I have loved watching Gavin. If you haven't followed him, I think it's Gavin Morales 1 on Instagram, and you can definitely see a lot of his videos as well. And we're going to have his sister come on, hopefully in another episode where we're going to talk about Mackenzie and her great success that she's had. So anyway, please click that like button. Please share the love, subscribe, and remember, never let anybody dull your sparkle. Thanks so much, everyone. Till our next episode.
Don't let anybody treat you like regular glue, because you're glitter glue. You sparkle, you shine. Get it, girl, get it, friend.